Hey, yay.
How are you?
Good. It's just you and me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Saturday night. I guess there's a few people that told me they couldn't be here, but I know
Oh, no.
the Saturday night is, I know, not the best, not the best night, but
It's tough. Yeah, I
yeah.
wasn't sure if I'd be able to sign in. I found out before we came up that the Wi-Fi hasn't been set up again,
Oh, so how are you joining now?
just through data.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I can get in, which is perfect.
okay, good. Awesome.
Yeah,
So yeah, we'll if it's just gonna be the two of us, we'll kind of breeze through and so we
sure.
can not take up too much of your Saturday night. And
That
are
sounds
you there with family or friends?
with my sister and then a couple of girlfriends.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
Cool. Your screen just went frozen, but
Yeah,
you can
you're,
still hear me. Am
I
I
can
still,
hear you.
am
You're
I
frozen.
frozen? Oh,
Yeah.
weird. Okay. All right. So, give me a check-in. Give me a little update of how the
Yeah.
week went.
Week went good. I found I was able to dig into the earlier, lighter dinner a bit better. And that I definitely felt lighter
Yeah.
eating the earlier, lighter dinner. And even if I couldn't do earlier, I tried to do lighter,
Good.
which
Yeah.
was really nice to actually be able to sit down, do my meal plan again,
Yeah.
and then move forward. So that
Awesome.
was good. And
Good.
then the early to bed, probably there was probably a couple of nights that I didn't for sure.
Yeah.
Got caught with Netflix or just sitting up chatting with my husband.
Yeah.
And so, but mostly I would say I did.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Like majority of the time, you think?
yeah,
Good.
yeah, yeah. And I noticed it was definitely a little bit, like I wasn't sleeping as well. And I don't know why that was. So I was going back through the tips that you had. I think they were the
Yeah.
tips
Yeah.
and making sure that I was getting outside during my workday and
Yeah.
sunlight and get exercise and stuff like that. So I think that helped.
Um, are you are you on your cycle at all?
No.
No. Okay. Because the new moon was on Thursday, and when we're in rhythm, we menstruate with the new moon.
Oh, okay.
Um, and sometimes during that period, sleep can be thrown off.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, um, yeah. Do you have a sense of what were you kind of more on your mind or?
Maybe it felt like a full week. There was a
Yeah,
lot. Work's been, I think I realized I've only worked 40 weeks the last 3 weeks, and I think
yeah,
it kind of caught up with me
like
this week.
lot to do.
So yeah, and I felt like we were sort of running from one thing to the next. Noah started hockey on Monday, so that was another um, commitment that we had in our week that we normally didn't have. And then
Yeah,
moving up basketball game and thinking about coming away for the weekend and
yeah,
knowing that I had to get all my work done by Thursday because I wasn't going to be there on Friday. So I think that probably did contribute to it.
yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like the busier our lives are, and the more we're kind of running around and doing a lot, and the more downtime we need to balance. It's like the busier we are, the less downtime we have.
I
But
know.
the more unwinding and unraveling of our nervous system we need to, especially if we have a lot of vata or pitta in our constitution.
Yes.
I
And
kind
I
of
would say
realize,
we have a lot of both.
yeah, and I realize that it's it just takes more of that,
Yeah.
that just more time to unwind at the end of the night. Actually, I just pulled out. I have this. It's my bed of nails.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this mat with I don't know if you can see the little
Yeah.
spikes.
Yeah.
I'm reading the book Headstrong. Have you heard of
Okay.
it? I think I mentioned it before. It's by. Have you heard of Dave Asprey or Bulletproof Coffee?
No.
Okay, so anyway, he's like this biohacker guy, and he has all these tips for just optimal functioning of the brain and health. And he
Yeah.
talks about this bed of nails thing, and I have one, and when I use it, it relaxes me. It's weird because it's really spiky. I mean, they're like sharp points, and I mean, you just put your hand on it and it kind of hurts. And you lay on it like bare back. And so you've got all these, and what it does is it stimulates all these acupressure points. Hi, Tosh.
Sorry.
That's okay. I know it was a different time today, so I don't know if that's what threw people off or the fact that it's Saturday. Yeah. So anyway, so this, what he was talking about, this thing is basically, initially it hurts. Your nervous system is like, what's going on? But then it kind of gives up, and then it's like very, very relaxing. Anyway, so I mean, it's like we kind of have to find all these ways. Like, what does it take? What does it take to actually, like, what do I need? How much do I need unwinding? Like, how long do I have to kind of set aside or work backwards from like the time I'd like to go to sleep to how much I need to actually like relax? Do I need to do a foot massage? Do I need to, like, again, we talked about this on Monday quite a bit, but like, dim the lights and,
I think that makes a big difference. And I am noticing that it's not just sort of, like, it takes a long time for my mind to sort of settle down too, and to really sort of feel that tension leave and feel myself actually relaxing.
Totally. I know.
And I think it's practicing that and setting aside the time and not expecting that, well, if I just like sit down and read a book for a few minutes, then quiet time. And relaxing, and it's really not enough for me.
No, I know. Yeah, I know. And again, it's like just the more, I was actually thinking about this because I'm going to Bali, and I remember I went diving, like scuba diving in Bali. And I remember when I started diving, like, I think it was 99, or maybe even earlier. I was so relaxed, and it like totally didn't make me nervous at all. And I was just, I could like dive, and I was doing like advanced diving and night diving and all these like super scary things.
Wow. Yeah.
And then as I get older, I'm more and more nervous. And the last time I went diving, I couldn't do it. Like, I freaked out, and I had to like come back up. And I think, again, it's like the more vata aggravating our lives are, the more we just have more of that nervousness and anxiety and, and I was thinking, like, what was different then? I mean, I was not a mom. I was, didn't really have a job that is, I just kind of was paying the bills and didn't really, was living day by day. So, so it's like, okay, now with like everything in my life now, like, what does it really take? And that's really what we're learning in this course is, what do I need to thrive, and what do I need to be able to, get the rest I need, and to feel the best possible, and to bring me back to like the state that I really want to be in. So so Tash, we're doing little updates, and then give a little, I know I talked to you yesterday, but a little update of your week of habits, or how things are going.
Cool. Things are going great. Yeah, so I just looked at the new chapter today.
That's like, okay. I know you just got it yesterday, so.
So I just went through the sheets and stuff, which was so funny because I was like, oh, perfect, I've got till 6:30, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh no, it's 6. Ran upstairs. The start to the day is really great, and I think there's a lot of stuff that I'm already doing, which should make it pretty easy. There's just the two things that I really want to focus on is not being on my phone first thing in the morning. So it's easy for me, like, I'll have a bowel movement right away first thing in the morning, and I take my phone with me. That's when I catch up on everything, right? So I'm texting people at 5 in the morning.
Oh man.
I'm like getting business done literally. So I don't need to be doing that kind of business.
No, totally
right?
not.
So I want to let that go. And then also I want to bring in movement in the morning before I eat, which is something, I mean, I usually don't have like solid foods until like later on in the morning, like more like lunch. Like I'll just have my lemon water and then I'll have a tea and then I'll have a smoothie.
Yeah.
And that ties me through until lunch. But I'm thinking like to put some movement in like before my smoothie. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah,
When you
definitely.
talk about it before eating?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally. And like this week is technically, like next week is breath body, which is movement. So, I mean, you can start now if you want to, obviously, if you're like doing a lot of the things, if you feel like you're ready to introduce that. But this week is start the day right is basically like, there's 3 parts. It's opening perspective, like waking up and just taking a moment, whether it's a gratitude practice or simply just presencing, the day and setting an intention, or however you want to create that little morning ritual for yourself. And then hydrating and then pooping, basically.
Yeah.
It's like hydrate to poop.
Yeah.
And scraping the tongue. So,
Right, which I have dropped. I used to do years ago, and I somehow just kind of fell out of doing it. So I don't even know where my tongue scraper is anymore. So I might go pick one up and back on board with tongue scraping.
Yeah. Jessie, do you have a tongue scraper?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I've just started using it.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. So that's basically kind of this week, but yes. And then next week we will go a little bit deeper into breath body practices. I mean, it's part of starting the day right, but again, we're just
and I've been, because I'll do my pranayama first thing in the morning. Like I'll just wake up and then go put the kettle on, and by the time the kettle boils, I'm done my pranayama. But I've been finding like I'll do alternate nostril breathing, and I'm finding that I'm waking up with my right side clear, which I thought was kind of strange because I thought when you were sleeping, your left side should be more clear.
It changes every 90 to 120 minutes.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So it must just be when I'm waking up that it's just changed to right side.
Yeah, I've never heard that actually. But I do know that it changes every 90 to 120 minutes. So
I knew it changed. I just thought when you're more
like relaxed or whatever. Right. Yeah. Although, that is kind of the clear alert time.
Yeah. The Vata time. So maybe.
But I don't know if it's always the same. I don't know that. Like, I don't know if it's like throughout the day, it's like on that regular schedule or not. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I don't know either. Just doing experiments on myself.
Totally.
That's funny, right? Like, cool.
Yeah. And again, and that's what you're bringing up is really important. It's we're noticing and we're observing and we're just seeing like cause and effect of the law of karma of when I do this is what happens. And what happens when I like this experiment, what's the result of it? And is this an experiment that I want to keep doing it, or I don't want to change things up or until we kind of find what works for us. Yeah. And again, it's like, we don't want to think about, all these habits as basically like rigid rules of, I gotta check these off my list. And so that I'm doing everything right. And I'm like, got the perfect Ayurvedic daily routine. It's not at all about that. And some of us can like get caught up in that, the kind of perfectionism or, some people are just like that of like, I want to make sure I'm doing it right and doing everything to a T. But it's more about finding out what works for you. And we're all different. And like, we were talking with Jess, like what we were talking about is how we need, and me included, like more of that, more wind down time, longer wind down time has to be like more focused in that. And we can either like, as opposed to someone with like a lot of kapha, which could probably maybe just run around and then just hit the sack and be fine. So yeah. So, and the most important thing is that, when we fall off the wagon, or if we get off track, or we backslide, or we don't do what we set out to do, is to not feel guilty. And guilt it's a toxic emotion for one. And it actually erodes our willpower. And there's been studies. There was the book, The Willpower Instinct by Kelly McGonigal. She talks about how we actually make worse choices when we feel guilty. We have less self-control. And so it doesn't serve us to feel bad. And so instead, we really want to start to get into create the habit of just having compassion, of realizing that, change is hard and no, we're not perfect. And to just, it's always like a fine line of giving ourselves some slack, but also knowing when we need to kind of light a fire under our ass too, and realizing when is each thing appropriate? Like, when do we need to just be a little bit kinder to ourselves? I think we could probably all use a little bit more of just being kinder to ourselves, because I think in general, like as Western women, we tend to be really hard on ourselves, and we tend to be really kind of critical and just feel like we're never doing enough and we're not good enough. And there's already way too much of that going on. So cultivating self-compassion and then shared humanity, realizing that nobody's perfect. Like, we're no different than anyone else. Like, we all struggle with changes, and we all have a hard time with, doing these things and creating these new habits. And then the last thing is noticing how we speak to ourselves. So the self-talk, and in yoga, the word for, self-talk is called matrika, or how we use our words is matrika. And I love that word because mata means mother, and the suffix ika means little. So it literally translates as little mothers. And so our words basically give birth to our reality. And so we have to really pay attention to, what kind of words, like, how are we really talking to ourselves? And that's what we're creating. Like, if we have unkind words, we're creating that negativity in our lives. And again, it's like, how do we want to feel? And so we're all moms here on the call right now. And so how would you speak to your child if they messed up, or like a close friend or a best friend? And often we don't even give ourselves, like, we're so much harder on ourselves than we would be to our kids or like people that we love and care about. Mm-hmm. So those three things. And this is from Christine Neff, and she does a lot of research on self-compassion. And so she says, these three things. It's the self-compassion, shared humanity, and speaking to yourself as you would to a small child or your best friend, instead of guilt. And just even notice when you have guilt, like when guilt comes up and you start to like beat yourself up or berate yourself, just like catch it, just like in the same way we do with resistance. Notice it and then let it go, so that we can start to uproot that pattern. So early to bed. Okay, so we did the check-in. Any troubleshooting before we kind of move forward from previous habits? Any challenges so far? Anything we haven't kind of talked about yet, or we need to talk about more? No? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Good. So we want to use peer support because it's really effective, and we're 85% more likely to be effective when we use peer support. And this habit, actually start the day right. I love starting the day right. I mean, I love waking up early now, but that was not the case like 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And I could, it was so hard for me to get out of bed, and I would just get really frustrated because I would stay in bed as long as I possibly could. And then I dragged myself out of bed in the last possible minute. And then I was rushing around and feeling 2 steps behind and trying to get everyone ready and me ready, and not having time for my yoga practice. And I was getting really, frustrated. And so I asked my husband, I said, can you wake me up? Wake me up. Because he's always been an early bird. Like, he's always, since he was 14, he's gone to the gym every morning. like first thing in the morning, like no matter what. Even when we were waiting tables in New York City and going to bed at like 4 a.m, he would still wake up and go to the gym. And so I was like, okay, can you wake me up and just like, keep waking me up until I actually get out of bed, because I want to do yoga in the morning and I never have enough time. And so that's basically how I created that habit, is through him waking me up and me asking for that support. And because I kept being frustrated that I wasn't getting what I wanted, which is like having time for me in the morning and having time to do my own yoga practice. So, we can do this with our family, but we can also, if our family is for some reason not supportive, like we can, we have our mentors, we have this group, we have the Facebook forum. Maybe you have another friend that could be more of like an accountability partner for you. But it's really helps. It's so helpful, because we're so good at not keeping promises to ourselves. But when we kind of get someone else involved, or we tell someone else about it, or we ask for someone else's support, we're just so much more likely to make the changes we want to make. So I don't know if you guys have, and especially, when we're, in family dynamics and we live with other people and we have kids and husbands that are going to be involved in the changes that we're making, because we don't live in a bubble. It's it's really helpful to actually like sit down and ask for support, which can be so hard because we often want to feel like we can do everything ourselves. And I think I had this for a really long time, the whole martyr complex of like, I'll just do it all myself. And but that doesn't really work. And I would just get really passive aggressive. Like, I'll do it all myself, but I'll make sure that that I'm doing it all myself. And, and you better feel bad about it. So yeah, like I'm cleaning, I'm cooking, I'm doing it all, and you're relaxing. So
Yeah.
But I've gotten, because I realized I think I got that passive aggressive pattern from my mom, and it's not a nice way to be. And so it requires a lot of vulnerability to actually be like, I need help, like to be able to admit that. And then be really specific with what that looks like. Because with men, I'm making a big generalization, but they often, we think that they should know what we need. And sometimes we get annoyed if they don't read our minds or give us what we need automatically. But we're so wired differently. We just don't think the same. And so, we shouldn't really blame them for that. But instead, I've learned to just be so like, lay it all out, like say it, even things that you don't feel like you need to say or need to ask. So it's, as you make these changes, if you know it's going to involve someone, or if you want, or your husband, or in this case, or if you would like his help, like have a little sit down and actually, talk about, okay, this is the change I want to make, whether it's whatever, going to bed earlier, waking up earlier, I need just some time for myself. I need you to take care of the kids for this amount of time in the morning so I can, have a few minutes to meditate, have a few minutes to do yoga or exercise or whatever that looks like. And make an arrangement, make an agreement, and ask for exactly what you need. And then I think it's always helpful to return the favor and say, what do you need? Like, what are you working on? Like, what are the goals, or what, how can I help you with whatever you need? So that it works both ways. If you guys had anything come up with that, like involved your husband or anyone else that so far? I know we just started, but.
Oh yeah, I asked David to help me with my phone.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, I see you're totally addicted to it.
Yeah.
You know, we want to get like defensive about it and be like, well, so are you,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah.
No, I'm asking you for help, right? And so, yeah. So my family's good. They'll support and help me. And it was funny. I tried to do that Freedom app,
Hmm.
and it can work on your phone, but I was having a really hard time setting it up, and I took like 20 minutes to try set up an app to help me not be on my phone. And I'm like,
The irony of that.
all right. So, but I am doing like baby steps, like leaving it at home more often,
Good. Yeah.
and being less attached to it, and knowing like David, my husband, like with my business of a yoga studio, and he's like, it's yoga. Nobody, because he's a firefighter, right? So it's not like somebody's dying. Like nobody's house is on fire. Like you don't have to answer your phone.
Right. Totally. I know.
It's
That's
very true.
hilarious.
It's very true. So
So
yeah.
what did you ask? I'm curious, like how you said you asked him to help you. So, and did you like in
Yeah,
what
so I
way?
asked him to be supportive, and like I just told him what I wanted to do. Like, so after 6, except for tonight or whatever, but I don't want to be on the phone at all unless an emergency call or something comes up. And so if he sees me on my phone, if he could like nicely, gently remind me
Good.
that not to be on my phone, right? So yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
Awesome. Good.
yeah. So that's good. And then like for eating and stuff like that, my family's pretty good. Like everybody's doing great with the meal plan on the fridge, and just,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm always trying new recipes. So
Yeah.
some of
Cool.
them
Yeah,
work,
me too.
some of them are horrible.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
Yeah. So,
Cool. Awesome. Good. All right. So I'm going to share some slides. Actually, I had this all set up, but then I had to restart my computer. So I'll just,
sure.
let me find them. Okay, good. All right. So, oh, hold on. So we'll go through some slides and then go back to questions. All right. So we're using Kaizen, the method Kaizen. And so Kaizen it's a Japanese word. It means good change. And it really came out of World War II when the women went into the factories. Like the men went off to war and the women went into the factories. And this was a way to just basically make the factory more efficient, like not waste anything. One of the ways an example was, so they had these people or these women like serving tea, and one of the ways they implemented, they started to realize like how much tea each person drank. So instead of like always filling everyone's cup up, they just gave everybody just the right amount of tea, and so this saved like a certain amount of tea. Basically, it saved the company money. So again, it's just like these small little tweaks. It's just how can you constantly make these little improvements? So it's like continuous, constant, small changes, positive changes. And it's really, again, it's so counterintuitive to often how we normally do things, because we're used to kind of going like go big or go home mentality, or do it all, or if you can't do it all, it's not worth doing it all. If you can't do it perfectly, it's not worth doing it all. And so you want to start to like be okay with just the baby steps and the B- mentality, and making sure that as long as you're improving, as long as there's progress, that's all that matters. It doesn't mean you have to make these giant leaps and bounds, because change happens slowly, and sustainable change happens just in baby steps incrementally over time. So there's certain things about Kaizen, certain principles we can use. So the low-hanging fruit is basically, do you guys know that expression, low-hanging fruit? So it's, the low-hanging fruit is the fruit that's easiest to pick. So you don't need a ladder. It's just right there for you. And so what's right there for you is in terms of the habit, like what is it so easy that you can't say no? And then again, eliminating waste. So in our case, it would be, you know, where are you wasting time? So phone, in Tasha's example, like we might be wasting time on our phone. Where are we wasting energy? And earlier, lighter dinner is basically a way to not waste energy on digestion. And so, and going to bed early, you know, when we go to bed late, we're actually borrowing energy from tomorrow. Like we're going into an energy deficit because we're taking energy away from the next day. And then where are you wasting effort? By like just making things too hard and making things too complicated. And sometimes, you know, we can be really good at just making things harder than they need to be. And then standardizing. So basically creating your own standards. So kitchen closes at 7. That's the standard, period. So you don't make that decision. I go to bed by 10. That's the standard. I wake up by whatever, you know, whatever they are for you, but figure out what they are. Like get really clear on exactly what they look like. What are your standards for all these different things? Repeating until automated. So that's the name of the game. Just repeat, repeat, repeat until you don't have to think about it anymore. And sometimes it takes, you know, a few weeks. Sometimes it takes a few months. Sometimes it takes 6 months. Everyone's different. It also depends on the habit. So just keep doing it. Keep those just 1% improvements until it's so natural that you don't have to think about it. And then innovate. So we're always, and you know, I've been teaching this for 3 years now, and I'm still making little tweaks to how I do things and tweaking, you know, my evening routine and tweaking my morning routine because we're evolving. Like we're constantly evolving, and our lives are changing all the time, especially like with families and kids, and like they're growing and everything's different, and you know, our schedules change. And so what do we need to, like, we don't want to ever get stuck in like one certain way, because we want to always be thinking, how can I just make this a little bit better? How can I, and it's like just the Kaizen continuous improvement. So it's, it never really stops of just continuously making things better. So what is one habit that you want to automate? So, you know, we have the first 3 habits so far, or even if we haven't gotten there, if there's something you do just know in your head that you just want this to be something you do and you don't have to think about it, and it just happens every day because you know that the compound effect of you doing that thing day after day after day will make such a big impact and difference in your life. So do you guys have a sense of one habit?
Yeah.
And what are they? Let's share.
Sure. So I want to do movement.
Your morning movement?
My morning movement.
Yeah. Before your smoothie.
Yeah.
Awesome. Jesse, do you have a idea yet? If you don't,
making sure I get downtime every day.
Downtime every day. Okay. Yeah. And so what would that, do you have a clear idea of like what that would look like?
It would be quiet for sure. And I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly what it would look like, but it would be by myself, downtime by myself, quiet. And I don't know if it would be doing the same thing every time, or if it would be sometimes going for a walk on my own in the evening, or going for a run at lunch on my own, taking a bath, just making sure that I get time by myself every day.
Yeah. And I think the more specific you can be with, even if there's variation, which I think is fine, but like, just so you know, like there's a way that you can know that you're doing it. I mean, and know that you can make it happen. Because if we kind of leave something like that up to chance, it's possible that it won't happen. So actually architecting your choices for that to happen. So maybe it even is like a little bit of a schedule. Like if you want it to be different, maybe you create a little bit of like, this day I go for a walk, this day I have a bath, and we don't have to be so, you know, so have it all like down to a T of figuring out what it looks like, but maybe just enough structure because structure really enables the freedom, and having those structures allows you in that time to just be free to do what you want. So
maybe it's making sure that I do it at the same time every day.
Yeah, maybe.
Or
Yeah.
I'm doing at lunch and making sure I block that time off at lunch every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like something like that. Like if it hasn't been happening already, then you have to do something to make sure that it happens.
That's a good point.
Yeah. All right. So this habit is, so we want to wake up during the pre-dawn hours. And again, it's going to change depending on the time of year, but I just like to use 6 a.m. And in Ayurveda, the name for this time, this pre-dawn time, is called Brahma Muhurta. And Brahma is the creator god. And so this is from the Ayurvedic text. The healthy person should get up from bed during Brahma Muhurta to protect his life. So this is taken very seriously. And it's like this time, this Vata time, which is the lightest of all the elements. It's the most clear, the most light, the most subtle. And this is when neuroplasticity is actually at its highest. So this is when like we actually have the most capacity to identity shift, to actually create the kind of person we want to be, to create the kind of experience we want to have. It's this potent time in these morning. And there's something about like the brain waves on a scientific level. I think it's the alpha brain waves because it's the time closest to sleep, so that we can actually change our belief system and let go of limiting beliefs and take on, more empowering beliefs or higher truths. So we want to be awake for this time. Like we don't want to be sleeping. Like we want to use this time because there's so much potent energy available. And I love, there's so many books on this, and so many of like the kind of self-help gurus like Tony Robbins and Robin Sharma, and they all talk about, like, I think Robin Sharma has like the 5 a.m. club, and Tony Robbins has his like hour of power. And there's another book that I read this summer called The Miracle Morning, and Hal Elrod, who's this is from him, this little thing I'm about to show you. He has he has The Miracle Morning. The other one I read was The 5 a.m. Miracle. So there's so many books. And it's funny because when I this summer when I brought home from the library The 5 a.m. Miracle, my husband looked at it, he's like, haven't you read all of these books? And I was like, you know what? There's never been a book written about like staying up late. And like night owl, like the benefits of night owl. It's just, it's like we know that when we wake up early and when we do specific things in the morning, like that has the capacity to completely change our life. Like that really, we start to feel like we are in charge of our life when we have, when we can do certain things in the morning time, like before our day has started, before the rest of the world needs us. And it's really huge. Like this habit, again, I went from like hating it to absolutely loving it, and just kind of like not ever getting enough of it. Like it's just such there's just something about it. And so what do we want to do during this time? And we really want to think of like, what does that ideal morning routine look like? Like, how do I want to start my day in a way that sets me up for, the kind of day I want to have, whether I want to be really grounded, centered, or do I want to just be really productive and successful, or do I want to be really energized? I mean, it could be all of these things too. And, when we do certain things, it can be all. So this is from Hal Elrod, and he wrote a book of basically how his morning routine changed his life, and he brought him back from like depression and like rock bottom to super successful, thriving. And he has a podcast and a whole like online thing, and it's all about morning routine. So this is he calls them life savers, SAVERS. And so S is silence. And so that can be meditation. That can be prayer, breathing, whatever it is for you. The idea is to quiet your mind, block out the chatter, and start the day with calm thoughts. And so we're going to get into meditation, or you can call it sitting in silence. That's habit number 7. So we'll get there. A is for affirmation. So encouraging words to tell yourself to achieve your goals, overcome fears, be healthy and happy, and live out your purpose. And, that could just be, and so what my morning routine looks like is when I wake up, before I even get out of bed, my eyes are still closed. I'll just think about 3 things that I am grateful for that happened in the last 24 hours, 3 things in my personal life, and 3 things in my professional life. And by forcing myself to think of in just the last 24 hours, it keeps it very current. And sometimes we get stuck in saying like the same thing. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family, and just the same thing day after day. And so it's a way of orienting yourself to the positive. And again, even if you're just kind of setting an intention for how you want your day to go, or if there's something that, you're going to do that day, and kind of visualizing it and seeing yourself moving through that in the best optimal way, doing a little mental rehearsal. That's going into the second one, the V, visualization. Imagine yourself doing each thing step by step that you need to do to accomplish your goals. Then imagine what it would feel like when you succeed. And again, there's lots of different visualization techniques. And it's not like we have to do all of these 6 things. But these are, as we go through them, think of start to actually paint a picture of what you would want your ideal morning to look like. Like, what would you put in if you had a blank slate? If you could put like anything you wanted in that morning routine, what would it be? And then E is for exercise. So it doesn't have to be powerlifting or long distance running, just some body weight exercise for 5 minutes to get the blood and oxygen flowing to the brain. And we're going to go into breath body practices. We'll go much more into exercise next week. But it is important to exercise in the morning sets you up for being just in a great mood and having tons of energy. And I notice such a difference when I do that in the morning. And then R is for reading. So maybe not your email, but maybe reading something that's more that you're choosing, because the email, again, it's someone else's agenda. Mm-hmm. And so it's when you start your day with reading your email, you're starting your day with someone else's agenda. And by creating our morning routine intentionally, we decide what do we want to put into our brains? How do we want to start our day? What are the things we want to fill our heads with? Mm-hmm. And so he says here, fill your brain with positive thoughts and ideas to improve yourself. Learn the knowledge of people who have accomplished the things you want to do. I subscribe to some blogs that are, just some are productivity or, so that's the stuff I like to read in the morning because it kind of inspires me. It gets me and, it gets me motivated. So whatever, maybe it's a book, but just be intentional about what you are filling your head with first thing in the morning. And then S is scribing. And so that can be journaling, writing. It's a great way to process your thoughts and reflect on your life. It will help you to be more self-aware and more articulate. And again, it doesn't have to be long, there's the morning pages, which is 3 pages of just stream of consciousness. It can literally just be, what are the 3 most important things I need to do today? Maybe you just take a few minutes to plan your day and to see what's most important, what do I need to remember to do? How can I just organize my thoughts or set some intentions? So those are, yeah. Any questions on any of these?
No.
Okay. Poop like a champ. Tasha, you sound like you're pooping like a champ, so that's good.
I am.
So what is that even? Okay, what is pooping like a champ? So pooping like a champ is having a complete bowel movement. So complete 18 inches of fecal matter that is the consistency of a ripe banana or peanut butter. So And within about an hour of waking. So that's what we want to, we know things are working properly when that happens. Not to put you on the spot, Jesse, how is that going for you?
Well, I can poop in the mornings, but it's often, sometimes it's twice. So
Yeah,
I think
that's
probably I'm not maybe having a complete
complete
bowel movement.
Right.
Yeah.
Twice in the morning or twice during the day?
Sometimes twice in the morning, and again, probably one or maybe even two more times throughout the day.
Okay, good. Well, that's good. As long as you're going daily.
Yeah.
As a culture, we're pretty constipated. Like, that's a big problem. So if you're doing it every day, at least once, perfect. And so, I mean, you guys are both good, but I'll just, for the recording, what you want is make sure your first thing, because we get really dehydrated when we sleep because we haven't, had anything to drink for, depending on how long you sleep, but 7 to 9 hours. So I always have this around, always. I carry it with me wherever I go. And in the morning, and what I do is I turn on the kettle, but I don't let it boil because it's too hot. And some people let it boil and they'll just do like half hot, half boiling, half regular, because you want to be able to drink it pretty quickly. Because if it's too hot, it just takes too long to drink. So I'll just turn it on until it's warm enough. And then I'll do a squeeze of lemon, but lemon is not required. Like, lemon is great and there's lots of benefits, but there are people that lemon, it just doesn't work for. So if it doesn't work for you, it's fine. You can use lime or you can just use water, just hot water or warm water. And we want to use warm water because it's the same same temperature as your body. And so it just moves through your system faster, and it helps. It helps, like the water is heavy. So water, it's heavy. And so as you drink, it helps just kind of push everything down. So Ayurvedic potty training is basically sitting at, like, training your body to go to the bathroom in the morning. So it might look like just sitting on the toilet every day at the same time after drinking water, and just getting your body, just trying to communicate to your body, like, it's time to poop. And depending on, this doesn't apply for you guys, but if you're constipated, it can take some time. And so some people need, so I drink about 2 of these, which is about 4 cups, I think. Some people, like, 2 is enough. Some people, it's like they need like 4 of these. So really, again, we're just figuring out for each one of us, like, what's the right amount. Doing some movement is really helpful, just to help things go down in versions, because you go upside down, and then when you go right side up, like, the momentum of going right side up, it helps to push everything back down. So doing a downward dog, a handstand, squats, side bends, and twists also help with that downward flow. Squatty potty. So my kids, they use a stool for their feet, and so I use it too. So we just still have it in the bathrooms, in both bathrooms. I have such a hard time going to the bathroom if I don't have something underneath my feet now. Does anyone else, do either of you guys use anything? No. So again, it's like we evolved squatting. It's just since the advent of the toilet that we poop, like, sitting with our, like, in a 90-degree angle with our thighs. But usually, you guys, if you watch the webinar, there's like the little diagram of the kind of more of a squatting position. And which is more natural because it allows that puborectalis muscle to relax, and it unkinks the colon and allows the poop to, and that might help as far as having like a complete bowel movement, till it makes sure like it's fully complete. And if I'm anywhere that doesn't have a stool, like, I'll put my feet up on the wall, or I'll put my feet up on the toilet seat, or I'll rig something, because it makes such a difference. I asked my husband to make me one out of wood, because he's into woodworking, to make me a nice one. Because Squatty Potty is like a brand, and they have hilarious, they have really good marketing. They have great, like, commercials. I'll post one on the forum. But anything, like, you could use like a kid's thing, or the Squatty Potty is nice because it kind of slides under the toilet, and it It's like nondescript when you slide it under, and then you can like pull it out when you need to. Hydrating in general, like making sure so drinking a lot in the morning is great, but drinking throughout the day is also really important. Magnesium is really helpful. What it does is it draws water into the bowels, so that can help with constipation. Triphala is an Ayurvedic supplement. Triphala means 3 fruits, so it's a combination of 3 different herbs that helps tonify the colon. So that can be also really helpful. And then finding out like what are constipating foods. Like, so in general, constipating foods are meats, grains, and dairy. So noticing, again, it's like we're observing cause and effect. Like when I eat certain things, that I feel like I'm more constipated. So we also want to know what are the powerful pooping foods. So green juices and smoothies are great. Lots of fiber in smoothies. Green juice doesn't have the fiber because you're just getting the straight nutrients. Chia seeds are awesome. They help. So making sure that they're well soaked too. Eating like half a papaya or melon. You always want to eat fruit on its own, except if you're having it with greens in a smoothie, but you never want to mix fruit with other foods because it digests so much faster. And we're going to talk about this in habit number 8, which is healthier eating guidelines. Reducing processed foods and grains, but again, because these slow down and clog the digestive tract. Beets are awesome. Beets are really good for keeping you regular. Aloe vera juice. Fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, pickled beets. Eating more vegetable fiber and having like a good amount of healthy fats. So I've been doing in my morning matcha latte, I put grass-fed butter and MCT oil, and I find that's really effective. So yes, these are powerful pooping foods. And okay, so this is according to Forbes, the benefits of early risers: better grades, higher GPAs, they're more proactive, they spend more time identifying goals and feel more in charge of their life. They're better planners, more organized, there's more time to exercise. And it's been shown that people that exercise in the morning just exercise more regularly than people that exercise at other times of the day. They're more in tune with circadian rhythms, which means that sleep is better. They are more optimistic and they have more family time. Mm-hmm. So I love this quote, and this is again by Hal Elrod, who wrote The Miracle Morning, who saved his life with his morning routine. So how you wake up each day your morning routine or lack thereof dramatically affects your levels of success in every single area of your life. Focused, productive, successful mornings generate focused, productive, successful days, which inevitably create a successful life. In the same way that unfocused, unproductive, and mediocre mornings generate unfocused, unproductive, and mediocre days, and ultimately a mediocre quality of life. By simply changing the way you wake up in the morning, you can transform any area of your life faster than you ever thought possible. Okay, and so I wanted to talk about this. So do you guys have so I'd like you to have a clear idea of what you're going to work on in the next week for starting the day right. Like, what is the little experiment you want to run? What's the micro habit you're going to introduce? So if you're not waking up as early as you'd like to, maybe it's waking up 10 to 15 minutes earlier. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's introducing like drinking the warm water first. So it's scrape tongue. So I'll just go through my morning routine again really quick. Wake up in bed, do my gratitude practice, get out of bed. I usually pee right away. And then I scrape my tongue back to front you guys both do it, but back to front about 5-6 times. And then I'll turn on my kettle, warm up my water. I'll drink 2 of these. And then I will go downstairs, do my practice, which takes anywhere from like 30 to 40 minutes. So it's usually minimum 20 minutes of movement and then about 10 to 15 minutes of meditation. And then when I'm done with that, I come back upstairs, I make my matcha tea, and then that's when I sit down, and that's when I check my email. And that's like basically my reward for having like done all that, is like, okay, now I get to check my email.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my morning routine. And so just think about what you want to do this coming week. Are you going to start the morning movement, Tosh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whenever we're introducing something new, so this is called defensive pessimism, which is basically stress testing your goal and making sure that, we want to be optimistic, and we want to think like, oh, okay, I can do this. But we also want to think, okay, what's the worst case scenario? And what are the obstacles that might get in the way? So your goal is movement. So what is the most positive outcome of that for you?
Is that I can do it?
Right? Well, what do you want out of it? Like, why do you want to do it?
So I think it'll create more energy for my day. And so I'm stoked on that for sure.
Okay. So more energy.
And I think the biggest obstacle for me is time, just creating the time, right? So, like right now, because my day starts super early, that I think if I don't start it this week, I will start it for sure next week, when I know that there's days that I can start on where I'm not leaving the house at 20 after 6, so that I can not have to wake up before 5. Because for some reason for me, like waking up at 5 is no problem, but waking up at like 4:50 is like an issue.
Yeah. Right. And you want to make sure you're getting enough sleep, and you don't have to be like crazy about it, for sure. And that's because you have teacher training for one more week, or? Yeah.
And then that's done. So then I'm like, okay, then I feel like I can. Yeah. And then it was like, even just doing it like 2 mornings a week at first, and just slowly bringing it in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. So exactly. I think that's a great idea. And also just make even those 2 mornings, it's like, okay, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, like super small, super short, doable. Right. Even if it's like, okay, 5 days this week, I'm going to do 5 minutes.
Yeah. Right. Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so do you have a space? Like, do you have a space in your house that you?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good. So that would be the first thing. Like, make sure you have everything you need. Like, do you have like the space? Do you have everything set out? Do you know exactly what you're going to do when you get there?
Right.
And maybe it's like, so you're a yoga teacher. You can just kind of make it up as you go along, or see what your body needs, and see like what happens, like what poses just you're drawn to doing. And then the biggest obstacle, what would be like the biggest obstacle, like after teacher training?
I think is just, I think it's always just time. It's just creating the space and the time. Right. And I think once I know that I'm going to be doing it, then it won't be a problem. Right.
And so, and again, we talked about, if we're not checking the phone all the time, like you'll have more time. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And so I'd like to feel more efficient. So that's great.
Yeah. And so in the morning, you don't feel like you have enough time. What are you doing in the morning usually?
I usually I'll do my pranayama, and then I have my cup of tea, and I make my smoothie, and then I'm usually pretty much out the door like after I shower and stuff, right? So
what time do you usually have to leave the house?
So like currently I'm leaving at 6:20 and I'm getting 5:10. Yeah.
But normally
it varies, right? And it's never that early. Like only one day a week do I leave at 6.
Okay.
So
and then the other times
it's not until like 8:30. So
so you have lots of time.
Yeah, totally, right?
Yeah.
It's just getting it before the kids get up, right? Which is 7. So that's
your kids are a little bit older. They're older.
Yeah, they're 10 and 12.
So they'll let you, because you can still do that thing.
Yeah.
You can do your thing.
Yeah, the sweet spot.
Good. So so for you it's Like the time is there, except for the day that you have, uh-oh, her phone overheated. Okay. So yeah, so you've got the time. It's just, it's a matter of being really like,
just organizing it.
Yeah. Just being more organized and being
make it a priority.
Intentional. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so it's like, what can you do in advance to prevent the obstacle of like getting distracted or just wasting the time?
Yeah.
Maybe it's like you don't turn on, maybe you turn off the phone and you don't like turn on the phone until after you've done that.
Yeah.
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 Hey,
yeah, right? I think like my if my phone dies, I apologize.
Yes.
Mine just shot up, I think. But yeah, it's totally doable.
Okay, cool. And then it's you know, when you get off track, like what are you going to do to get back on track? It's again just thinking ahead of what might go wrong, what might get in the way,
Right.
what are all the options, so that we can start to just plan for these obstacles, so that when they do arise, it's like, I know exactly what I'm going to do because I've already thought this through. And
Nice.
this really helps, and really taking advantage of mental rehearsal, actually like seeing yourself go through the motions, like doing a little visualization of seeing yourself wake up and every little step that you're going to take. And again, it starts to just create a neural pathway.
Cool.
And so that your brain almost, you know, your brain kind of thinks that it's doing it. So when you actually go to do it, it's already familiar. And
right.
It's so much easier to just, you know, your brain's like, I know what, I've already done this. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah. So Jesse, we're talking about, defensive pessimism is basically, do you know what you're going to work on this week as far as start the day, right? Like what your little Kaizen habit is?
Well, I think I'd like to have a plan for my mornings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't seem to have any troubles getting up early.
Okay.
But I get up early and I sort of feel like I don't use my mornings very well.
Yeah.
So then I still end up rushing and
right.
sort of behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
So I think my goal for this week is to, I haven't had a chance to read through everything, but
Okay,
to
yeah.
read through
No, I
everything
know.
and really have a plan for how I want to spend my
Yeah.
mornings. And even if it's just picking one or two things out of my ultimate plan.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. You're not going to don't like go from 0 to your ideal.
Yeah. But yeah, I think just knowing, I guess what I'd like to get out of the mornings, I think would be a big help, and just taking some time to sit down and read through everything and think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would take some time and actually just visualize like what the ideal would look like, and then then what's the first step, and then work on that first step, and then again repeat until you got that down, and then what's the next thing I want to add in, and then progressively build it from there.
Yeah. Well,
but again, go ahead.
I was going to say, I guess I think also drinking the warm water in the morning. I get up and the first thing I drink is coffee.
Yes, do that.
So that probably would be a big thing. And I find by the time I get to work, I can drink 3 glasses of water.
Yeah.
Right away. I'm very dehydrated.
Totally. Because it's a diuretic. Like,
yeah.
Coffee makes you like lose water. Yeah. Pee it all out. And we're dehydrated already waking up. So that would be, that's what because when I learned all this, I was drinking coffee, and same thing. That was like the first thing that I drank. It was like beeline to the coffee pot.
Totally. Totally.
And and for me, it was like, that was before I even gave up coffee. It was like, okay, I'm just going to add water before the coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I'm ready to give up coffee.
No. And I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you need to at all. But I'm just saying, do drink water. Yeah.
Yeah. And adding that in before I have the coffee, I think is definitely something that I can set as a goal for myself as well.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's like, I mean, that's not a huge thing, but whatever you do add, you want to kind of go through, like, what are the obstacles that could arise? What might stand in the way? What might prevent me from doing the thing that I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to put into place to make sure that, like, what is the strategy around the obstacle?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. And then lastly, and then we'll do a few other things, but so there's some worksheets to take some time. I know we didn't have a whole lot of time to look through everything before today's meeting, but there's some worksheets there. The practice page is basically a library of yoga videos that I've created and guided meditations. And again, we're going into exercise next week. So if you're not adding that in yet, totally fine. But it's there for you. Lots of resources. And my intention is to add to that and just add more videos. Fill out the scorecard. Again, what's your micro habit? Just fill that in our accountability document. Connect with your mentor, me, and actually I'll be in Bali. So maybe don't connect with me next week. But I'll be checking, and I'll totally be checking my email, and there's Wi-Fi there. So, and I'll be checking the Facebook page too. So, any questions about morning routine, starting the day right, of like kind of what I talked about in the slides? Oops.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm excited to do this habit.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I felt like the earlier, later dinner was something new for me.
Mm-hmm.
Going to bed early, I thought, okay, I can rock this one. I can go to bed early. This is no problem for me. Yeah. Starting the day right, I've been excited to learn more about, because I find I can get up, but I don't feel like I'm starting my day right.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah. I mean, it really does have the potential to, again, the energy that we wake up with is the energy we take with us throughout the whole day.
Yeah.
So getting really, again, intentional as opposed to reactive. And because we can fritter time away so easily. Oh my gosh, so easily, and just dilly-dally. And so really, this is how we start to like take control of our lives, is just by starting to take control of our mornings, of like this first hour or two of our day, and just really feeling, it's amazing. Like I've started, even again, I'm always kind of innovating, and I started to just actually do some of like the most important things early in the morning. And then by like 7 p.m., I've already like checked stuff off my list, and I feel so accomplished and so good about myself.
Yeah.
So when we are intentional, then we can just do so much more. It really expands our capacity to do more, and we feel just so much more productive and better, successful. So it really is an awesome habit. I'm glad you're excited about it, because some people can be like, oh God, dread the morning, but but it really, again, it's just like the little changes add up.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. So thanks for being here. I'm glad you guys were here. I'm glad I didn't have to just talk to myself today. And so no meeting on Monday, but we'll have a meeting the following Monday. So we'll have, 8-9 days for our next one.
Okay. Have fun in Bali.
Thank you. All right. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.